Before we get started, I would just like to show that statistics show that 100% of students have been bullied in some way in their lifetime, 77% have been bullied daily, and 14% have been bullied and shown signs of abuse. Now, on to the main event. Hello there, viewing audience. I am Shay Hopkins, and this is my Draw My Life video. I apologize if, well, the pictures are very bad, because I'm not going to lie, most of them will be. Let's start off with my birth, shall we? I was born on May 24th, 2000, in Garfield Heights. Now that I think of it, I can't really remember the hospital, but I knew I was a gorgeous baby, and that was amazing. I was the best and fourth baby of my parents, Dan and Beth. My siblings are all sisters, so lucky me. The order of age goes Katie, Shannon, Nora, and then little old me. Not only was I the youngest in my main family, I was also youngest on both sides of my family, meaning my dad's cousins, I am the youngest, and on my mom's side, I am also the youngest. I have a pretty big family. My dad's one of 6, and my mom's one of 7. The funny thing with my mom, though, is that she's one of 7 girls. She only has sisters. She doesn't have any brothers. But coming from a big old family isn't that bad, because you get to grow up with a lot of people, and you really get to know them, and a lot of them are my really close friends today still. But now to the main event. The reason why we're all here is to celebrate the life of me, James Charles Hopkins, also known as Seamus, but we're not going to get into that deeper behind that story. While living in Parma, I only stayed in that school system from preschool to kindergarten, and I really don't have any really fond memories back then. All I can really remember was my best friends. They had this huge playground, and me and my sister Nora would always hang out right after school since the house was right next to the school. We would just go on their huge slide and swing on their big swings, and they had this really big sandbox. It was a lot of fun. But the reason why I only stayed in that school system for 2 years was because my dad, who was a realtor for Keller Williams, actually got moved to the Westlake office, and so he needed to move closer. So we moved to Redtail in Avon, Ohio. So because we moved, that means I had to leave all my friends behind from school and go to a brand new school and make new friends. The new school I went to was called Holy Trinity, and I didn't stay that long there either. I stayed there from the 1st grade to 3rd grade until I finally moved to my last junior high school, Avon. But before we get into the whole Avon story, I'm going to stick a little bit with Holy Trinity just for a bit, because it was really cool, because I actually had my cousins went to that school. My cousins Andrew, Matthew, and Ryan. My sister Katie was the only one who didn't go to Holy Trinity, because it was going to be her 8th grade year at St. Charles, our old school, so she wanted to finish up there. But I have to say, one of my favorite memories of Holy Trinity was after school, I would always go to the Latchkey program, which is kind of like an after-school program for kids who have to wait for their parents to pick them up. And it was cool because my mom worked there, and not only that, but both my aunts did at one point in time. My Aunt Lynn and then my Aunt Laura, who are actually twins. My Aunt Laura was actually the mother of Andrew, Matthew, and Ryan. But a real quick fun story. In the 1st grade, it was my 2nd week of school, I think, and I was in Mrs. Feathers' class. I always called her Mrs. Feathers because I was a terrible speller and reader and anything with English back then. And my cousin Andrew, who was the same age as me, was in that class. And we moved seats the 2nd week of school. And he originally sat right next to me, but then he got moved away. And all I remember was me crying hysterically because I was so afraid of all the other kids because I didn't know them except for my cousin. One big trend you're going to see in this video is that I cried a lot. And I mean like a lot. So much crying that I'm pretty sure I could fill up the Pacific Ocean twice. But like I stated before, I didn't stay long at the Holy Trinity school system. I only went there from 1st to 3rd grade because, to be honest, the school system and their programs wasn't really that strong at the time. I'm not sure how it is now, but my parents decided to move me and my sister Nora after my sister Shannon graduated from the 8th grade there to the Avon school system. I started in the 4th grade there, and Nora started in the 5th grade there. So we were actually to 2 completely different schools, because at Avon, there was Avon South, which was 3rd and 4th graders, and North, which was 5th and 6th graders. So if you were wondering what I did when I found out that me and Nora weren't going to be in the same school building, Well, I cried again. But my fourth grade year was a relatively calm one. I really don't have any fond memories again from that year because it was just a normal year. Everyone just did what they felt like doing. They played on the playground, and easy as that. But when I went into the fifth and sixth grade and then eventually middle school, that's when it started to get really tough for me. It may be surprising for some people to know this about me, but back then I was a pretty quiet kid. I didn't like to be as outgoing as I am now in high school and hopefully college. But going into the fifth grade, I had my sister at least, but I decided to do something which I'm proud of now, but back then I wasn't really. In the fifth grade, that's when you were able to do the talent show at Avon North. And I decided to sing because I love singing. Actually, my backstory for singing was some comedian guy came into my family's church, and he did all these little skits with all these little funny characters. And at the end, with his last show, he was there for 3 nights. Actually, my bad, but he asked all the kids to come up on stage and sing "This Little Light of Mine." And I haven't really sung before or anything like that. And my dad heard me sing, and he's like, "Oh, hey." So my dad was like, "Oh, hey, he's actually not that bad. So maybe we should try to pursue something in this." My sister Katie, in her middle school days, she actually did drama club at St. Charles, and she really loved it. And she pursued it actually when she went to high school at Elyria Catholic. And so my dad said, "Hey, Shay, how would you feel about trying out for a musical?" And that's when it really kicked off for me because I tried sports like my other sisters, but big surprise, I'm not that good at sports. I couldn't kick, I couldn't catch, I couldn't throw anything. I could run though, kinda, but not that well. But anyways, the first musical I ever did was Into the Woods, and I actually got a pretty decent-sized part in that. I was the steward who was basically kind of like the servant slash butler to Prince Charming, and I had my own little solo in the show, and I was really proud of myself. So even from a really young age, singing has been such a big part of my life, and so I tried bringing that into my school career in the fifth grade, like I said, with the talent show. I sang Joy to the World by Three Dog Night, and well, let's say a few people liked it, but not a lot. I was kind of outcasted at that point after school. From fifth grade onward, I was bullied crazily because I didn't do what all the other guys were doing. Instead of playing sports or getting outside and getting really dirty, I decided to do something that was different and not like everyone else. I decided to sing and put myself out there for once, and the backlash was pretty bad. I got so many mean remarks saying that I was gay, I was stupid for doing this, I was queer, which of course is nothing wrong because I know a lot of people who are gay in my life and I think they're wonderful people. But for a 10-year-old who in that time in society only saw it as a bad thing, it really hurt, and it hurt my self-esteem, and it wasn't just name calling. Kids would push me around in the hallways. They would knock down my books. And it just got worse when I got into the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. When I got to the Avon Middle School building, it just got worse because everyone knew me by then because I kept trying out for the talent shows and I kept placing, actually. I got second place in my first ever one, and I got third in all the rest. But enough bragging for that right now. But it just got worse every time I did it, and I just never got why people thought belittling someone would make their own selves feel better by making someone else feel so much worse. Luckily, I had some friends in middle school, my friend Zach and then my friend Blake, who were actually really close to me and was always there for me whenever someone would pick on me or bully me. But as you could probably guess, they were outcasts too. But not as bad as me. All I could think of was whenever I was at that school, I can't wait to get out. I can't wait to get out and go to high school and try to change who I am. But the bullying just kept on getting worse and worse. It came to the point when I wouldn't even like to go on the bus on the ride home. I would ask my mom before she goes to work at Holy Trinity to pick me up, which was really out of her way, but it was much better than crying on the bus or waiting to get home to cry. I would never cry in front of anyone in my family because I was afraid they would start to judge me too. But now I know that looking back then, that was the wrong thing to do. I eventually did find the courage to tell my parents about what was going on, and I actually got help. And my sister, who was, when she was at school with me, oh goodness, she was like my protector. Nora was my superhero at that school. Everyone loved Nora because she was a basketball star, but everyone always knew me as the kid who sang, or Nora's little brother. But of course, Nora would never let anyone touch me while I was at that school. But if she wasn't around, then people would find a way to push me or call me names. But all I can think of after graduating, I was so happy to go to a new school and try to start fresh and change my image. I joined the cross country team, even though like I said before, I'm not the best runner and still not good at sports. And I joined the bowling team at Elyria Catholic. And my freshman year, I was back to my quiet state and not trying to be as outgoing until my sister and my parents, they talked to me. It was like, Shay, the only person who has to like you is yourself. As long as you love the person who you are, then who cares what other kids think? If they don't like you, it's their loss. What I want to get across making this video is to show people that it's okay if someone doesn't like you. And if you're being bullied, stand up and tell someone and get help, because no one should ever make you feel like you're a piece of crap or that you're not worth it in life, because you are worth it in life. You have a special place to be on this earth, a special thing to do on this earth. And the only person who can find that is yourself. So going on and crying about it isn't the way to go. Just find the thing you love to do and be yourself. I went into that my second quarter of my freshman year, and people started to really like me. I made so many friends, not just in my freshman class, but the sophomore, junior, and senior class in my freshman year. I remember I had such a blast doing my musicals there. I remember it was Shrek and I was Donkey, and that was probably my second or even first favorite part I've ever played in all of my 32 shows I've done. And after my freshman year, it just kept getting better and better for me, because my new philosophy was, Shay, just continue to be yourself and people will like you for who you are. And I like to think to myself that I showed all those people who made me feel terrible, who made me feel like I was nothing. Well, I'm my class president now, and I was on my school's homecoming court. So obviously people have to like me, and people like the person who I am, and I didn't try to change myself. I kept going with the person who I like to be, and I didn't try to hide behind false faces or pretend to like people when I actually didn't. I was true to myself, and that's one of the only things you need in this life, is to love yourself, love your family, and love others the way you want to be treated. So I strongly encourage anyone who sees this or hears this, if you're being bullied or if you don't like the way someone's treating you, find help. You will be given the help you needed. You are not lost. You are always loved by yourself or by someone. I look forward to keeping the same philosophy of loving myself and others will like me for who I am when I go into college. So just remember that you are loved. You will always be loved. You will never be alone. You are never alone, because you have loved ones and people there to always help you and guide you along your way. I hope you really learned something from this little drama life video. You've seen me cry. You've seen my really, really bad drawings, and hopefully a good story. Thank you for watching.